We then came on to Bethesda, obviously.
Quake.
Hell yes, Quake is back. Obviously, we've got QuakeCon, so there's going to be much more shown then. But yeah, guys, how are you feeling about Quake being officially back?
After what they've done with Wolfenstein and then what they did with Doom,
Yeah.
I'm very confident that Quake is going to be good.
Yeah. It's been a really interesting one to see proper kind of old school shooter action becoming popular again and people realizing that they don't have to be afraid of going back to the roots of the genre.
Yeah, definitely.
It seems more class-based than it used to, doesn't it? Because isn't Quake traditionally a bit more of a skill-based game?
It is very much so.
It is. It does look like they've kind of taken, or they might be taking, just a little hint of that kind of the kind of thing Overwatch is doing, where you have your class with like a skill or something. But hopefully, it still will retain, what made Quake, which is kind of this intense, fast-paced twitch shooting.
Yes, they've agreed they're supporting 120 megahertz displays.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Happy days on that front. I mean, that was something, Chris, me and you had a chat before, didn't we, around the Battleborn Overwatch debate, which, yes, they are very different games, but the kind of the limiting and frame capping on Battleborn was something that came up then, so good to see that those guys have gotten wise to the fact that can obviously arouse some frustration for a specific demographic.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's with the amount of... Okay, trying to put it this way. Yeah, I understand that obviously the Battleborn and Overwatch are very different games, but in the area where they are the same, they're first-person multiplayer competitive games. Overwatch runs at 60, Battleborn runs at 30 on console, so Overwatch feels objectively better to play than Battleborn does. So it does affect.
Yeah,
it does affect
exactly. You're back on Soviet. We then also obviously came on to the Fallout DLCs.
Are we not going to talk about their hot card game? Hot Elder Scrolls Legends.
I mean, come on, guys, we've got Gwent. Do we really need Elder Scrolls Legends?
I don't know. I like card games. I'll try that.
I mean, the interface looks kind of nice. It looks like they've got some work to go.
They've got hard competition with Hearthstone being what it is, and with, as you say, Gwent. We'll get to later on. But I thought we should
one day
mention
they
it
might release a Magic the Gathering game as good as the 2014 one, which was also fundamentally flawed in many ways, but it's still great fun to this day.
Oh yeah.
But yes, Fallout. As well, obviously we've got the DLCs. We've then also got the big one on everyone's lips, which is, what the fuck? Fallout 4 is going into VR. Hell yeah, we're gonna see a proper premium release other than Elite Dangerous being in VR, and then we've got a whole load more of announcements on that front later on. But first up, the DLC.
Oh yes, the DLC.
They got that hot theme park. Looks interesting.
So I spent a great deal more time than I had expected I was going to building settlements in Fallout 4. I ended up building like this 4-story compound in Sanctuary City that was just, you could house everything in it. And so the fact now that we're coming out with all of this stuff like conveyor belts and lifts and switches,
like
oh my god, I'll never get done playing this game.
Yeah, I mean, and especially with the freedom that mods already offer, and and that includes just even the most basic, just getting rid of, for example, the area limit on building, or the kind of the cap on resources that can be used, and then everything else, which is obviously in the massive mod community, which is now also opening up to consoles. It's there's. With now there being this sort of stuff endorsed, you can only imagine what the community are now going to build on top of the added features that these guys are now putting in. Especially when you have the build limits removed, you can imagine people starting to create full-on, forget the kind of just the trading that we have of automated kind of vendors coming in. You can now create a sorting machine that linked from one of your settlements to another and like literally sent resources down conveyor belts to be waiting for you in other places. There's so much cool stuff that you could do in real time. So that was the Contraptions DLC. And then, like you said, also Nuka World, which seems only in a Fallout world could that seem oddly in context.
Do we know if that's going to have any sort of story to it, if it's just going to be just a random theme park set out in the middle of?
I think it must be, right, because they did their one big story thing already with Far Harbor. So I would imagine that this must be a story expansion. They talk about the fact
that it's ruled by raiders. So we're supposed to be, I think, clearing those guys out and trying to save kind of civilians as well who have tried to kind of make homes out of the different areas. Because it's quite a big, sprawling area, that whole theme park. So you can actually engage with all the rides and mess around with things, but it's also a case of clearing the bandits out and kind of making it a safe place for people again. So maybe that'll turn into somewhere that becomes a player-controlled settlement afterwards, or individual parts of it will. It's hard to say at this stage.
I wonder if there's the option to not make it a safe place, but still control it nonetheless.
Or just turn it from Nuka World into Deathclaw World. We had quite a nice announcement as well, looking at the big kind of RPG releases of Skyrim Special Edition, which, it's maybe not kind of like one of the headline releases there, but the fact that they're actually giving it away for free to those guys who already kind of hold the full collection on PC and stuff, for example, is really nice. I'm sure there are some more T's and C's that I'm gonna get wrong if I try and quote here, but yeah, effectively a lot of people are going to be getting that for free, the remaster, which is really nice.
I mean, it was always going to be a difficult sell to PC players, I think, just purely because
everyone has it.
Of how everyone has it and can already do most of that stuff
with mods.
With mods and
but
stuff.
But it's a nice touch. I think. It wasn't that long ago they were kind of either claiming or hinting at the fact that it wasn't going to happen, and then here it comes. Though, I mean, suffice to say, we can have a bit of a shout out and a nod to obviously all the guys that are working on the Elder Scrolls Remastered projects, in particular Skywind, because God, would I like to be able to play a pretty version of Morrowind again.
Oh, absolutely.
That game was absolutely gorgeous.
It's my only real gripe with this announcement is that I wanted it to be ideally Morrowind or even Oblivion, just purely because those games are older.
If they had just taken
that would have been more.
If they'd
work.
just taken in the Skywind guys and gone, look, we've opened our arms to all the guys who've been working on it, and we've told them we're going to help them finish the project. Like, we've outsourced a chunk of our dev team. Like, wow, okay, that would be great. But was that ever going to happen?
I have a shameful admission to make. I've never really been a sword and sorcery type guy. I've always been more science fiction. So while I tried once to play Oblivion, but Skyrim is really the first Elder Scrolls game that I've actually played a great deal of. And I think part of it was the fact that the interface in Oblivion and Morrowind it turned me off to it, which is why I'm definitely looking forward to like Skywind and Oblivion in that respect as well. And the whole remaster thing, I was planning on doing another run through Skyrim at some point, so this gives it a perfect excuse.
Yeah, that's one of the things, because I've always been one of those people that I have more games than I have time to play, and therefore kind of the remasters never really massively excite me, because I feel like, God, I don't have time to replay that game. It doesn't matter how nice you make it look. Morrowind is probably one of the only exceptions to that, largely because of, with Skyrim it was a beautiful, beautiful game, and they'd finally gotten rid of that kind of, the old engine that made Oblivion and Fallout 3 kind of looked like everything was made of plastic and then kind of varnished and glued together. And the faces are gradually starting to look vaguely more human.
Let's not go that far.
But Skyrim still obviously was had this beautiful sprawling landscape, but it still felt relatively kind of singular. It was there's a lot of these snowy wastelands, the mountains, and it was great. But I was always in my mind calling that back to the Morrowind, the range of environments where you're going from these kind of barren wastes covered in kind of netches right through to the Black Mountain in the middle of the island. It was just and swamp landscapes. It was a huge amount to get to grips with, and therefore I think seeing that brought to life again, as we've started to see in some of the pre-releases of Skywind, are great. But yeah, I shouldn't pull us too long down to that route, because we're talking about a game that wasn't even in the conference.
Yes.
But okay, the next one in their list was obviously Prey, which I mentioned earlier, which I think. Yeah, I'm
very interested to play
I'll
this.
open up and then kind of, I guess, give the floor to you guys. But my feelings when watching it were, first and foremost, it looked great. It was a great kind of a shooter with some kind of dark undertones to it. I mean, the trailer from the offset was beautifully crafted, loads and loads, tons of atmosphere. But then when it got onto the actual shooting, it seems like they've kind of they're tapping into what was fun about Doom and everything like we've seen before. That kind of, it had a bit of an old school feel, but still tons and tons of atmosphere. My only gripe is that when I put that in the context of the Prey 2 trailer that we saw back in the day from the guys at Human Head, so the Prey 2 footage we had before from Human Head, God, there was a glimmering of hope that we were going to have an alien bounty hunter game, and damn did it look good.
I will be forever sad that game didn't come to pass.
that context away, and this looks fantastic.
Is anybody else getting a kind of an action-y System Shock vibe from it?
Yes, it was massive sort of atmosphere.
Very much,
Very,
yeah.
like you say, System Shock, kind of mixed up with almost kind of like Bioshock-y sort of Dead Space vibes. It was a bit of everything kind of dipping in there. It did almost feel like a spiritual successor to System Shock, yeah.
Did any of you guys play the original?
Yeah,
game?
A little bit.
and again, for its time, it was a beautiful, beautiful game. It's like kind of up there with Far Cry for kind of looking ahead of its time. It felt almost like a Doom 3-esque style shooter kind of at the time in a way, and yet you put in kind of, the American Indian kind of culture, Native American, which word should I be using, Salem?
Well, it's.
I'll probably get some vitriol either
It
way.
really depends on who you're talking to. My people really wouldn't care.
I wasn't suggesting that you were culturally linked. I simply meant that you were
no,
slightly
well,
more
I'm
geographically relevant.
a quarter Muskogee, so.
Oh wow, okay. Well, I learn something new about you every day.
Yeah.
See, first there I was living out your kind of weird wet dreams, sitting topless eating a banana, and now here we are talking about Prey, and we're getting to learn more about each other.
Exactly.
This is beautiful.
Yeah, that's one thing I think I was actually kind of missing from the demo. Was I actually quite liked that theme that was running through the original Prey. I think it made, like, when you consider like it was, you were just being abducted onto the space station, and some of that culture.
Yeah, with the spirit walking.
I think that made the original Prey like really unique. So at the moment, I'm kind of missing that from this one.
No, I agree. And it'll be interesting to see what they put in its place. To give it that kind of that unique vibe. I mean, it wouldn't really be a Prey game if there wasn't something about the tone of the gameplay and story that was different.
Yeah, definitely. Who's making this one?
The new one is being developed by Arcane.
Oh, it's Arcane Austin, I think. So it's it's not exactly the Dishonored team, because obviously they're busy.
Just a tad
At
with,
the moment,
with Dishonored 2, which we also got quite a nice look at. There was some repeating of the footage and kind of trailer material throughout, but we got a decent little gameplay chunk, and
hell of a lot of gameplay.
That's a game I'm very much looking forward to. I was a big fan
that's
of
a
the
pre-order.
first one.
Yeah,
So.
100%. I mean, and it's another one where the art style as well. They talked quite a bit about how they tried to make it look almost like a painting in motion, and it kind of does. To be honest, it's just that beautiful kind of stylized Victorian-esque style, and it graphically it ages very well. I mean, like, play the original Dishonored and it still looks great. But also the tone, it's that kind of steampunk sort of vibe to the whole world you're exploring, the whale oil and stuff. But now we're getting taken down to this kind of dusty wasteland of a new area where you've been. Obviously, there had to be something that was going to shake up the fact that we kind of. Oh great, we're back with the right person on the throne. How could we possibly make a future game? Well, here's how.
Dishonored 2, Dishonored again.
This time, super Dishonored. Dishonored 2 because there's two of you who have now been Dishonored, and you get a choice of playable character.
Yes, yeah.
Dishonored 2, Whale Punk Boogaloo.
Dishonored, the first Dishonored was already a game that I wanted to play through twice, and at least because of the sort of the various ways that the game could go.
And the non-lethal stealth playthrough.
So now saying, hey, now you get to replay it with an entirely new base set of powers. And the fact that they did give Emily different powers and didn't just go with the same thing is really cool.
Yeah, I think what's going to be interesting is that obviously because they've had to craft the environment in a way that that both characters can get through it, there'll probably be overlap. You could see those kind of similarities in some of the powers. Like Emily's got this kind of a pull to power which she can use to pull objects to her, but also use to kind of pull herself to.
It's basically a grappling.
Grappling
it's
hooks.
a kind of a brain grappling hook, which is similar to the Blink.
One thing that looks so cool is the time traveling like mechanics and stuff. Is it's just like a dial that sits on your hand, isn't it? And you can see through like different periods of where that building was.
That was a specific
yes.
layer kind of level section, wasn't it? Or was that just me?
Yeah, I think it was a one-off mission.
But a fantastic sort of like a way of. I mean, God, it does make you feel like I'm trying to think how they can do that without making you incredibly OP. If anytime anyone sees you and you just go, cool, yeah, I'm no longer in this time zone.
Yeah, you jump back and forth. So you're like, hey, this I need to get through this locked door, but in the ruined future, the door doesn't exist. And then like he steps into the past to stab a man in the back and then disappears again. While
and just finds the corpse lying there with no reason to, and then he just sneaks behind the guy and leaves. It's
incredible,
a
really neat concept.
Did sort of get sort of a vibe like Elizabeth's powers in BioShock Infinite, but used offensively.
Yes. Yeah, very much so.
And also a nice touch now that we're finally having the character from the original game.
Corvo,
yeah. actually being fully voiced at last, which is nice.
Yeah. It is sort of rugged stubble.
Oh, do we know who's voicing him?
Vincent D'Onofrio.
What, the Vincent D'Onofrio? Wow.
Well, you heard it here first, guys.
I'm into that. I'm into getting more character for Corvo, because it's one of the things you didn't really get that much of through Dishonored. The first Dishonored was more about building the rest of the world around you
Exactly, yeah.
than it was him.
I mean, I'll admit with Dishonored, I played the first one, and for some reason I just didn't get on with the game, but I think it's just down to the fact I'm terrible at it. Not because the game's bad in any way, I'm just bad at it. But still, Dishonored 2 does look really cool.
Yeah.
I think the thing with Dishonored is that, again, as kind of Ken was hinting on before, it's all about how you choose to play through. And the thing that I do value about it is I never felt as much like it kind of almost penalised you for taking your own route. It was actually one that I felt like it was kind of okay. You get a lot of games where they say, like, oh, you can stealth through, you can shoot through, but the moment you don't do a perfect stealth playthrough, you kind of feel like you've messed up, or you're being kind of discredited, or you have games like kind of like the original Watch Dogs, where you kind of, the moment you're wreaking havoc, you're like, but I'm supposed to be fighting justice. This is really out of context, which it doesn't in GTA when you're a kind of big criminal. But in that, I felt like the same as in Splinter Cell, where they kind of actually in the more recent games introduced that kind of, was it the Panther kind of like what they called it?
Yeah,
at the end when they did
different
the mission
scoring
judging.
systems for your gameplay.
And I was really glad about that, because that was, the Panther one played up to exactly what my usual playthrough is, which is, I like trying to do it stealthily, so I feel like I'm doing it right, but I'm very much a lethal stealther. Like I don't leave a room until everyone there is dead, but hopefully none of them saw me do it.
Yeah, the Assassin's Creed Chronicles games do that too. The side-scrolling ones.
Yeah, a lot of big stabbing in Dishonored 2 as well. In that gameplay demo they showed.
Oh, solid stabbing.
Lots of very vicious stabbing in the chest. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's good to see Emily is true to her daddy's roots. She's clearly, I mean, he talks about her nighttime ventures to the rooftops, so clearly she's been training for this for a while.
Yeah.
And we also got a quick look at, again, not a new game, but obviously a game that's only recently landed, which was the DLC for Doom. I've not actually still had a chance to get my hands properly on Doom, but I know a couple of you guys have.
Oh yes. Yeah. Oh yes.
One thing they did was really cool is in the conference they announced that they're releasing the first level of the game for free as a demo. So
so old school. I love that.
Played the game properly. I just played that demo, but that demo is awesome. So good.
I have played through. I played through the game once on the Hurt Me Plenty, and then as a follow-up, I played through each of the levels individually, getting out all the secrets and everything. And I did that on Ultra Violence, which is the next level up. And let me take a look at my Steam library here. I'm at 39 hours, and to be honest with you, I've only played a little bit of the multiplayer. So there's quite a satisfying amount of game in Doom to begin with, without even getting into the multiplayer. And the fact that they're expanding on the multiplayer, I'm a little bit torn on the fact that they're going to be doing paid map packs, because that...
Yeah, I mean, because Snap Map was a really, really nice addition to the game, but then suddenly, you think, okay, great, you've really hinted at let the community grow the game, and then you're also saying, oh, and by the way, if you want some of the really good stuff, pay for it, please.
Yeah, maps are the one thing. Don't charge your players for maps. Come on,
Armor.
Charge them for whatever you want, but don't charge them for maps, because that just splits up your user base.
I would really draw a contrast between what Doom is planning and what Tripwire has done with Killing Floor 2, because when Killing Floor 2 first came out in early access, there was something like 4 maps, and since then they've released I think another 4, maybe 5 maps. The maps are free, and the different character classes that they come out with are free. They're doing a crap ton of money right now on cosmetic stuff.
I think there's still lots of good examples. I mean, you look at Overwatch as well, is doing the same. You know, they've said all the maps they release will be free, all the characters will be free.
Because it's a full price release, but they've left in cosmetic micropayments.
Sure.
That kind of wraps us up largely for Bethesda.